Hello, my name's Ken Barrett. Welcome to Brainland, a project that began as a series of visual artworks inspired by events in the history of neuroscience. Design, illustration and making have been important in the creation of the opera to test out ideas, staging, etc. And in this video I'll talk about and show you some examples and give you an idea of the look of the work. The animation that you just watched is a speeded up recreation of a gadget from the 1950s that used radar tech to display brain electrical pulsation, EEG, in real time. It was the brainchild of a major character in the opera, physiologist William Gray Walter. This is him mid-experiment in the 1950s. He called her Topsy, short for the toposcope. Walter tended to give his inventions female nicknames. The animation of Topsy in action is based on images from Walter's papers, a kind of visual poem co-created by brains from the 1950s. Brainland the opera weaves together three storylines that I discovered during background research for exhibitions. The stories are highly dramatic but also raise live issues concerning ethical dilemmas and conflicts. The sort of thing contemporary opera is starting to address, so I approached friends with the idea and Brainland the opera as a result. In the opening scenes, Walter, three colleagues and Topsy await a US Air Force flight to Oslo in November 1957. The US military funded the toposcope and other brain science in the 1950s, a subject we tackle later in the opera. This is the only photographic record of that Oslo trip. The group were based at the Burden Neurological Institute in Bristol and went to Norway to learn a new technique: how to insert an array of 64 electrodes deep inside a human brain. The electrodes would stay in the brain for several months and be used as a way of taking recordings and coagulating or killing off areas they didn't like the look of. A kind of refined leucotomy of the time. I worked at the Burden Neurological Institute in the 1980s, and so the story had particular resonance for me. A muse character reappears in different guises throughout the piece, a way for us to listen in on the thoughts and internal dialogue of key players. For Gray Walter's muse, we brought Topsy to life. 1950s sci-fi influenced the look and feel of this storyline. I began using card cutouts and then wax models to test out various staging ideas, and they became more detailed as my technique improved, but these are from the early scenes 1 and 3. The second storyline in the opera is about the German psychiatrist Hans Berger, the man who discovered the EEG in 1924. I created more detailed dioramas of Berger's scenes. The look this time influenced by German expressionist cinema of the period. We gave Berger a muse, an assistant who exists only in his imagination. She's also masked with a fixed doll-like expression. We mostly strive for accuracy and realism in the text, but in the staging, as you see from the patient, not so much. It wasn't until 1929, over 1,000 recordings later, that Berger finally felt confident enough to publish his results. Then, for 5 years, his work was dismissed by the science establishment and ridiculed by his peers. The Nazis came to power about this time, so he also had to negotiate their eugenics and psychiatric policies. Though Berger was finally vindicated and his contribution acknowledged, his life didn't end well, and the next animation from the opera occurs after Berger leaves the stage for the last time. The third storyline concerns two figures from the psychosurgery craze of the mid-20th century. Portuguese neurologist Egas Moniz and his disciple Walter Freeman, an American pathologist and neurologist. Scene 7 includes Moniz's first leucotomy, in which pure alcohol was injected directly into the frontal lobes of a patient. I started experimenting with puppetry during the first lockdown. We meet Walter Freeman at the beginning of the second act whilst he's conducting a post-mortem. He was a pathologist in a large Washington mental hospital. The cadaver in this case acts as Freeman's muse and joins him in a duet during which he gives his rationale for his infamous ice pick lobotomy. The opera includes animations of surgical techniques based on illustrations from the medical literature at the time. This was from Freeman's 1949 Lancet paper. He performed his ice pick operations in his office with minimal sterile precautions, as we see in scene 9. Thanks to COVID, our plan to workshop in the opera in various ways were put on hold, so I decided to create a shortened, animated version of the scene. This is an extract. A link to the full version of the animation is on the animation page of the Brainland website, along with other animations. If you would like more background to the stories, 2 essays I wrote to accompany exhibitions can be downloaded from the story and structure page of the website. That's all from me. Thanks for watching.